week is Parshas Shmos. It starts the book of Shmos, uh, also called the book of the Exodus from Egypt, shortened to Exodus. And it begins with the story of the beginning of the end of the sojourn of the children of Israel in Egypt. And it starts with the Jewish people become a nation rather than an extended family, and they become numerous. They spread out throughout the kingdom of Egypt. And it says then that a new Pharaoh arose who knew not Yoseph. And what it generally means is not so much that he didn't know him personally. Yoseph had passed away a number of years ago. It's more a case that he ignored his accomplishments. He ignored the type of person that he was, and he allowed things in Egypt to revert back to the way that they were before Yoseph became the second to the king, the Mishnah Lamelech, the viceroy. And you wind up with conflicting attitudes within the Egyptians towards the Bnei Yisrael. On one hand, they desire that they should remain in Egypt. They are fearful that they should go away because they have built up the kingdom very much and made a very real contribution to the national welfare. On the other hand, they can't stand the sight of them. Vayakutsu. Something about them turns them off, even though they're not doing anything particularly religious. The idea of the earlier Pharaoh, the Pharaoh who welcomed Yosef, is that he says, is there anyone who has the Spirit of God that, like the man we see right now, who's filled with such wisdom and understanding? It's the opposite with the new Pharaoh, that when Moshe Rabbeinu comes to him and he asks him basically for time off for the children of Israel to have a religious festival, his response is, who is this God? Who is Hashem? I don't know Hashem. And the children of Israel I will not release. Total denial of religion, hostility, anger, disgust towards the children of Israel. The Parsha continues saying that the Bnei Israel were groaning under the burden, and that Hashem knew. This is the aspect of the persecution in Egypt. It's often called enslavement, but it's not like one person owns another person, master-slave relationship. It's more the aspect of drafting an ethnic minority into public service. Fix the roads, fix the fields, build buildings, that type of thing, public works. And the idea of the persecution is that not only is it hard work and long work and being overworked in bad conditions, it's also a case that some of the suffering that is inflicted upon them is gratuitous, cruelty. They're being persecuted for no reason whatsoever. They haven't done anything wrong. It says that Hashem remembered his covenant with Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. And with that, we start to understand something of the aspect of the Jewish people. The phrase, and God knew. The question is, what did he know? And it's brought in the Tainus, in the Talmud Yerushalmi, the Torah Tamima brings it, that he saw that there was some aspect of tshuva going on. The discussion in the Torah Tamima basically says that the various people were doing tshuva for sins that they committed. In the case of the text, there is no specific national sin that is explicit. It's not like they worship the golden calf. When you're talking about tshuva, though, it's especially in its popular usage, but and also in the terms of someone like King Yoash, Yehoyash. Towards the end of the First Temple period, he was known as someone who did tshuva like it was never done. The idea is the absence of religion is, well, it may not be specifically reckoned as a sin, but nevertheless that someone who fills his life with religion, when there has been little or none of it in his life, that's also, the word tshuva and return is also attached to that. And what you can, shall we say, intimate in the sufferings and the groanings and the crying out of the Jewish people that's heard before the throne of glory is that there is an incoherent religious awakening in them. That it's the aspect of the patriarchs that's crying out. The aspect of persecution of this nature is that you will sometimes have Jews who will be victims of anti-Semitism in spite of the fact that they do absolutely nothing Jewish. So why should that bother an anti-Semite? And the idea is that because there is something inherent in the Jews from the patriarchs and from their historical experience, that it just arouses feelings of religion within a person, and that that if a person is not at peace with religion, then they will not be at peace with the Jewish people. It's an aspect of Psalm 44 that it says that for your sake, meaning for God's sake, we are killed all day. The idea is that if somebody really does not like a certain aspect of the 5 books of Moses or the Tanakh, he sees that in a Jew, even though the Jew has not done anything about it, maybe completely alien to his thinking or very distant from him. Nevertheless, the other person sees it, and it's for good or for bad. If it's it might waken up feelings of good things, but in the case of the Egyptian persecution, it's a case, it seems, of, so to speak, the Egyptians have had enough of the Jews in their kingdom, but nevertheless, they don't want them to go. They can't live with them and can't live without them, and ultimately it's time to go. That's the idea. There's also the aspect of, it's also brought in Psalm 44, that the prayer in Psalm 44 is that we should be rescued for the sake of God's kindness. The idea that God is inherently kind, therefore he will rescue a person simply because they're in pain, um, which is further developed in Psalm 72, where King David expresses his hopes for his son Solomon, that he'll rescue the poor and the destitute when they cry out. The idea is that anytime there is pain and suffering, that the Jewish people should be sensitive to that, and if it's something that's really pointless in not bringing the person to any good, that the Jewish people should be moved to lessen their burden and help them lead a happier and more comfortable life.